Things are starting to pick up for the Vancouver Canucks as multiple insiders have linked the Vancouver Canucks to two separate players coming from the Boston Bruins and the Nashville Predators, as Patrik Allvin is constantly on the phone trying to make a trade to fill out the center depth on this team. We're going to break down these reports on two players coming from the Eastern and Western Conference, how they fit in this lineup and what it means for the Vancouver Canucks, and so much more. In this episode, you're not going to miss it. So let's just dive straight into it today. And before we get into these reports on these two players, we do get a report coming that Victor Mancini has been assigned to the Abbotsford Canucks. Now, not a big update, but the big thing is we know Victor Mancini is now healthy, going down to Abbotsford in a much needed move where Abbotsford is starting to struggle, playing I think it was 32 skaters and 6 goaltenders, including a emergency backup, as they're continuing to struggle after coming off a Calder Cup win. Now the big thing is getting in some key players to this lineup the Vancouver Canucks are going to continuously look to add. This is the lineup without David Kampf in it, but the big thing is the Canucks need to continue looking for options down the middle with a lot of people out in Teddy Blueger, Filip Hronek, and that's only the surface of it. Now with the Canucks, we know Patrik Allvin has been constantly on the phones, and this goes straight into the first report coming today from Jeff Merrick linking the Canucks to Steven Stamkos. Make no mistake about it, Vancouver is a part of the conversation, as is Montreal, as are a number of teams. Now with Jeff Merrick naming the Vancouver Canucks to Steven Stamkos, there's a lot to look. Listen, Steven Stamkos, an older player with a big cap hit, but there's a lot to like. Listen, a slow start to the season with the Nashville Predators, 5 points over 20 games at the age of 35. Looking at these numbers, Steven Stamkos doesn't look like the most attractive player for the Canucks to pursue, but the biggest thing is we've seen the prime years of Steven Stamkos come play next to elite playmakers, Kucherov being one of them, and since going to Nashville, he hasn't really had that guy to really set him up. Now, joining the Canucks lineup, he would play directly next to probably Pettersson or someone else with a playmaking ability, which would unlock Steven Stamkos' of course, one-timer. We know Pettersson is a bit afraid to shoot the puck at times. Steven Stamkos is most certainly not. I mean, we've seen it in the intro clip. We're going to touch on this guy after, but the biggest thing is with Steven Stamkos, his shot, that would work in a system with the Vancouver Canucks. Now, the big thing is he's removed from a 50-goal season for quite some time now. 40-goal season just coming 2 years ago with the Nashville Predators, Tampa Bay Lightning. But the biggest thing with Stamkos is if you're making a move to acquire a player like this, you have expectation to make a run in the Stanley Cup. Now we know Jim has made it very clear that this team is not even thinking about a rebuild. This $8 million cap hit is hard to swallow, but if you're looking at the Nashville side of things, they want to move on some of their players. We've seen them go out looking like they were playing a video game, signing everyone in free agency under the sun, and it has not worked. Now, 2 years left on Steven Stamkos, including this year. The biggest thing is you're looking at the $8 million cap hit. If you can get this half retained, that is a very manageable contract with the cap going up and up and up. Almost 10 mil a season. Now listen, I'm not going to sit here and say Steven Stamkos is the answer at 2C or Steven Stamkos is going to change this franchise, but adding talent like this, someone that can go out and play on the dot. Now Steven Stamkos has played a lot of wing, but still a guy that flirts with above 50% on the dot. You know what you're getting. A guy that can score you 30 goals, go out on the power play and change that completely. The Canucks need a better power play penalty kill as well. Stamkos won't help with that, but I do think it is an interesting option when looking at this. Now, we do know Patrik Allvin is calling teams. Jim Rutherford said he's calling teams all the time. If it gets to a conversation about potentially adding someone, the price is just too high. Now, going back on Stamkos, if you have to give up a fortune, if you have to give up a bunch of prospects or your first round pick this year, stay away from that. You're going to get some reinforcements. Teddy Blueger will be back at some point. Filip Hronek is a name that we've seen skating in Vancouver again, which is awesome to see. Listen, health-wise, incredible, but seeing him have the chance to maybe get back into NHL action is awesome to see as well. But the big thing is we don't want this management group to trade too much. We've seen trades in the past, Lindholm being an example, trading multiple picks, including Kuzmenko, who was a scratch, so maybe the Canucks circle back on him. But we've seen a trade with Lindholm. He walked for nothing. Zadorov once again traded from the Calgary Flames the exact same season and walked to the exact same team in the Boston Bruins. So if you're getting a guy, you kind of want some term or a cheap option, and that goes straight into the second guy. We're going into this, you don't even need to trade for him. Now, we've seen a report from Elliot Freeman. Montreal's looking for a center, and I wouldn't be surprised if Vancouver checked in on him. Now, this falls straight into a Boston Bruins player discussing, we know we hate the Boston Bruins, but listen, shout out to Kirk Day on Boston Bruins, by the way. Love that guy. But the big thing is, with the Boston Bruins, they just placed John Beecher onto waivers. Now, John Beecher, once again, 1 goal in 6 games. People are going to say, what the hell, Mark? Why are you showing us guys that have a limited amount of points? But John Beecher does have upside. 24 years old, 6'3", a centerman that can join this Canucks team down the middle is exactly what Allvin should look at when looking at the market. Now, the big thing is he was placed on waivers. We can see Elliot Freeman say not only is the Montreal Canadiens and Canucks last 2 times these 2 teams were linked was David Kampf, and we won the Kampf sweepstake. So shout out to us, and listen, he's not going to be a huge game changer, but a big piece to this team nonetheless. But going into John Beecher, listen, 1 goal this season, not the best. We've seen 11 points last year in 78 games, 23 years old, 24 now, but he's a guy that can help down the middle. 52% on the draw last season, 55% the season before that. Someone's going to throw hits, 85, 112, 7 this season. John Beecher is the perfect name if you want to get a stopover option. Now, the Canucks are not worried about going out and getting projects on players. We see it with the 4th line center right now with Reichel, but the big thing is, if the Canucks want to go out and get John Beecher for absolutely nothing, you move down in the waiver order, but you also pick up a piece that could surprise a lot of people. Now, going into Daniel G, shout out to him. Go check all his workout. He says Beecher is a 6'3", 220 pound. He's a solid skater north to south, but hasn't been able to put together a strong enough playmaking games at the center in the NHL. Still, he's a space creator with the ability to score around the net. Now, the Canucks getting scoring is a big thing. Getting a center that's big that can win draws is another thing. And at this age, I think it lines up perfectly to bring in a guy on not only a 1-year deal, you get his RFA rights, but you get him for absolute nothing. This is the biggest thing. If these reports are true, that as soon as I can find it, that these trades, that everything Patrik Allvin has been linked to is almost too much. They're too expensive. It's too rich for the team. Going out to get these young guys, the worst case is you claim them on waivers. You get Teddy Bluger back. He doesn't work out, so you place him on waivers once again. Getting these guys for free, projects that can help with the now. We know the injuries they're dealing with at the current moment. David Kampf will be added to the lineup. Reichel will slide to the wing, but maybe you bring in a guy like this to plot into the middle of this lineup. Maybe Sasson heads back down to Abbotsford. I love Saxon. The biggest thing is Abbotsford needs help down the middle. They need players in general. So maybe bringing in Beecher is a thing to try. But what you guys' thoughts on this? What is your thoughts on the 2 people the Canucks have been linked to? 1, Steven Stamkos. 2, Beecher. Is there anyone else you would rather see on this team? Nazem Kadri. Is it anyone? Let me know down in the comments. While you're down there, leave a like, subscribe, share this with your friends. We'll be back in another episode, so keep your eye for that. But I've been your host, Mark. Bye, and take care, Canucks fans. Enjoy your Saturday and your weekend, the rest of the year. Enjoy everything. I love you guys so much, and take care.